إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, last couple of weeks I have not passed a day without hearing about the news of coronavirus, or without someone making a comment about it, without someone mentioning about it. I'm sure that might be the case with you as well. This coronavirus outbreak has impacted our travel plans. It has impacted our schedule. In some cases, it may have impacted our financials too. And it has even impacted some people's Umrah travel plans. And most importantly, it has given us a perspective that we did not have necessarily all the time. It has changed our perspective. We humans, for most cases, we have an assumption that we think the death is far away from us. But we think with the death, we have plenty of time, most humans for that matter, except those who are past 80 years or 75 years and so on. Like most of the human beings who are under 75 or so think that we are farther away from death. Right? We know in theory death is going to come anytime, we have to be prepared and so on, but we don't necessarily prepare our mindset. So that is the biggest perspective this coronavirus news has changed for you and for me. Right? Now it has become real. Now we feel it to be more real. Now we feel that death is getting closer. If not death, at least the impact is getting closer. We are seeing the outbreak happening all of a sudden, and it could happen to anyone. Companies are shutting down. Right? There are a number of multinational companies that are shut down in the Seattle area. If the outbreak were to happen in Minnesota, that would be the same case here as well. Many companies here in Minnesota too are planning for a possible shutdown, a possible quarantine situation. So putting all of this into perspective, I want to talk about what should we be really worried about. So I'm not saying that we should not be worried about the possible outbreak of coronavirus in our areas, which is why it's important to follow the best practice suggestions provided by CDC or MDH for that matter. We have to follow those recommendations to protect ourselves. That is important, right? So we have to, for Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's suggestions, guideline, we have to tie our camels. Then we have to put our tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So the tying camel part is important. I'm not diminishing the value of that. At the same time, what should we be really worrying about is what I want to focus today, right? This aspect of what I'm going to talk about today is not just applicable because of the outbreak of COVID-19. It is not applicable just because of this situation. It is applicable every single day as long as we are alive. Just that we don't necessarily realize the importance of it. We don't pay attention to it. So that what we have to be really worried about is, are we prepared to face death? Is the real question that you and I have to constantly ask ourselves and do whatever we can in order to be prepared for the death. Right? It is real. It is going to happen. Even before the coronavirus time, we have seen a number of people dying in the young ages, right? For so many contributing factors to death, right? It's no longer just the aging that's contributing to death. It could be anything. So are we prepared for it? So when I say the preparation, I would consider that in two folds, right? Are we prepared to leave this world? That is one kind of preparation. Are we doing the things that we are supposed to do? I'll touch on what those things are to leave this world. And the second preparation is, are we prepared to see the day of judgment, to face the day of judgment? Right? Those are the two kinds of preparations. Are we prepared to face the death? Are we prepared to leave the world? Are we prepared to enter into the akhirah? We have time only until we live in this dunya to do both these preparations. Right? We only have time until you and I are breathing. The moment we stop breathing, that's it. The time is closed. We do not have any more opportunity. So in terms of what do we do to do in order for us to prepare to leave this dunya, to prepare to leave this world, right? So a couple things that we have to focus on. Did we put together a will in place, right? Is that this is materialistic, but yet very important, right? We are providing for our family. Many of us are providing for our families, and we don't want to leave them hanging. So did we put together a will in place? It's very easy to prepare a will. Just contact a lawyer, attorney, and then they will put it together in about a day. That's it. It's very easy to do. So have you done that important aspect? If you haven't, then you have this underlying assumption back of your mind that you are going to live longer, that which may or may not be true. So that's the first thing. Two, in order to prepare to leave the world, are you raising your kids well? Why? Because your kids are your true assets. Right? When you leave this dunya, there are very few things that are going to follow you. Your money is not going to follow you. Your job title is not going to follow you. The large house you have is not going to follow you. The expensive car you may have is not going to follow you. The very few things are going to follow us. One of them is the dua of your children. So your children is going to ask dua for you only if you raise them within the Islamic boundaries by teaching them the value of Islam. Right? So that's the most important thing. Many of us don't necessarily understand the importance of paying attention to being available for our children, but it's very important, right? So writing up the will and spending time with our family and kids in particular, and raising them in an Islamic environment, Islamic values. Those are, I consider, most important things in the preparation to leave this dunya. As far as preparing to meet the day of judgment, the key question I would ask yourself and myself is, are we focusing on the right thing? Right? It's very easy to get distracted and lose the focus in the current context, where in the time that we are living in, with the bombarding social media messages and emails and so on, it's very easy to get distracted. Are we focusing on the right thing? The moment we understand the severity on the day of judgment, that is the right then we will tune ourselves to focus on the right thing, right? There is a saying, they say that if you want to stop worrying about something, then ask yourself whether or not whatever you are worrying about, is it going to be a real concern for you 5 years from now? In most cases, not really, right? Then stop worrying. Why are you even thinking about it? Because 5 years from now, you'll be looking back and giggling, like, was I worrying about that thing? That's ridiculous, right? But Islamic perspective is even better. You and I have to ask ourselves, the thing that I'm worrying about, is it really a true thing to worry about when I enter Akhirah on the day of judgment, looking back on this thing, the thing that I'm worrying about currently? Is that going to be true worry for me on the day of judgment? Most cases, no. The things that you have to be then worrying about is if you are missing salah, if you are missing fasting, if you are missing out an opportunity to donate. Those are some of the things that you should be really worrying about. If you are missing out the opportunity to take care of your parents, those are the things that you and I have to be really worrying about when you think from the day of judgment perspective. Why is it important to think from the day of judgment perspective? We can only understand that if we get an understanding of what's going to happen on the day of judgment. Let's look at a scene on the day of judgment from Surah Al-Abasa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the scene for our comprehension. فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَةُ, at length, when there comes a deafening noise. What is the deafening noise? The sur, the horn that will be blown on that marks the end of this dunya and the commencement of the day of judgment. When the sur is blown, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. That day, when the surah is blown, then the akhirah starts. That day shall a man flee from his own brother. The brothers and the sisters, all those relations that we are tied to today. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about brother, akhi, brother here, it is not the context of brother in Islam, right? The blood brother. You will not even care about your own blood relationship. That's what it means. You don't care about your own brother. You just flee. That is the intensity of the day of judgment. It doesn't stop here. It keeps going. وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. And from his father and from his mother. So this person, that you and I, who are going to stand on the day of judgment, will flee from our brother, we will flee from our father and mother too. The father and mother that we want to take care of, that we want to protect, that we want to show all the love and affection. They may be standing right next to us on the day of judgment. We do not care about them. We'll be fleeing. We'll be just worried about ourselves. Nafsi, nafsi. That's all matters on the day of judgment. وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ. And from his wife and children. Right? All the hard work that you and I are doing in this dunya to provide for our family, from that very one family, from our wives, from our children, we'll be fleeing because all it matters is ourselves. لِكُلِّ امْرٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِي. Each one of them that day will have enough concerns to make him indifferent to the others. So what matters to you and I on that day is about ourselves. We have enough concerns about ourselves. What's going to happen to me? Am I going to go to Jannah? Am I going to go to Jahannam? What is going to happen to me? Oh, I did that. I did this when I was living in dunya. I could have used that opportunity. I could have used this opportunity. All we were wondering about, worrying about at that time is just about ourselves. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ مُشْفِرَةٌ. Some faces that day will be beaming. They will be bright. They are brightened. They're happy. ضَاحِكَةٌ مُسْتَبْشِرَةٌ. They're laughing and rejoicing. So there are some people on that day, they'll be happy. They'll be laughing, they'll be rejoicing, and they'll be enjoying. وَوْجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَلَيْهَا غَبَرَةٌ. And other faces that day will be dust stained. And what are those faces? تَرْهَقُهَا قَطَرٌ. Blackness will cover those faces. Some faces will be happy, beaming, and some faces will be sad, worried, and blackness will just cover their faces. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ كَفَرَةُ الْفَجَرِ. And such will be the rejectors of Allah, the doers of injustice. Those who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who do injustice, those are the people who would be in the second category of the people that are sad, whose face is dark, whose face is covered with sadness. We may be seeing people who are doing all sorts of injustice in this world, and yet they may be appearing to be growing and flourishing, right? But that's all this in this dunya. On that day, on the day of judgment, they'll be worried. They'll be concerned about themselves. What am I going to do? How am I going to get through this tough day of the day of judgment? You and I do not want to be in that situation, right? You and I do not want to be in the situation of the category of people who are worried about themselves, whose face is blackened, who's concerned about their judgment. On that day, you are not going to be worried about someone that hurt you. You are actually going to be worried to have hurt someone. Right? That would be your worry. So this is our opportunity in this dunya, right? To correct our ibadah, to correct our transactions, our interactions with others, with regards to fitting ourselves within the Islamic boundary and making sure that we are doing the right thing. This is our opportunity. Because on that day, we are not going to have the opportunity to correct ourselves. We are going to be worried about the things that we done wrong to others. And that is important to avoid because we don't want to be a person that goes bankrupt on the day of judgment. So what is the bankruptcy that we are talking about here? So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving a beautiful explanation. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking a question: who amongst you is bankrupt. Who amongst you is a bankrupt? The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also answering that question. The bankrupt among my ummah is the person who on the day of judgment would come with prayers, would come with good deeds from his prayers, from his fasting, from his zakah. But he had offended one person, but he had slandered another person. He devoured others' wealth. He shed blood on this person and beat that person. So he was praying good, he was fasting good, he had gathered a lot of good deeds by doing all this ibadah, which is important. But on the other side, he was doing wrong things to the other people. He was doing injustice to other people. So each one of these people would be given some of the good deeds from the wrongdoer, right? So eventually, what happens is all of his good deeds would be distributed to the people that were impacted by this person. So he came with a lot of good deeds accrued by his salah, by his fasting, and so on. And then eventually, all of his good deeds are given out. Why? Because he was hurting others. He was doing injustice to others. He was cheating others. He was slapping some people. So he was doing all sorts of bad things. So those people have been given justice by grabbing the good deeds from this person and then distributing to those others. To the point that he has become bankrupt. He has no more good deeds. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not leave until everything is settled in Akhirah, right? So now at this point, he is being given with bad deeds from those whom he has impacted. So he came with a lot of good deeds to begin with. Then now he's left with not only nothing, but with negative. He's going negative. So that is the person who is real bankrupt. That is the situation that you and I want to avoid. This hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Right? That is the person that is real bankrupt. So you and I have the opportunity today, while we are living, while we are alive, to course correct whatever wrong things we may be doing. That is self-reflection that we have to do on ourselves. Right? We have to course correct. We have this opportunity we will not get on the day of judgment. When the judgment is given, it is going to be a forever thing. Right? It is not a thing like today. Today, if you are doing something wrong, you have the opportunity to correct it today while you are living. But on the day of judgment, whatever is existing on the day of judgment, it is going to continue. In one hadith, Rasulullah mentioned that when the people of paradise entered the paradise, when the people of Jahannam, the hellfire, entered the hellfire, at that time, the death will be brought in front of all these people that as they are looking, right? Death is not an object today, right? You can't see death, but it will be made as an object on the day of judgment in a form or shape that you and I can recognize that it is death. So death will be brought in front of everyone. So as everyone is looking at death, the death will be slaughtered. And then an announcement will be made to everyone. O people of paradise, there is no more death. O people of hellfire, there is no more death. So upon hearing this announcement, the people that are in paradise, their happiness increased to multitudes because they're happy that they are in paradise. The people in hellfire, their sadness increased. So both their current state in multiple times because there is no more death. That scenario is going to exist forever. There is no more death once we enter the Akhirah. But that is why it is important not to be focused on the trivial life that we have in this dunya and thereby losing track of the important aspect of Akhirah, and thereby we don't want to become the bankrupt person or the person of loss. So a couple of things I want you and I to think about as takeaways in order for us to get the opportunity to course correct, right? First thing is to evaluate our ibadah. Are we sincere in our ibadah? Are we missing prayers? Are we fasting in Ramadan at the very least? If possible, we should be trying to fast and pray sunnah prayers and fast sunnah nafil fastings as well, if possible, right? Are we stopping ourselves just by praying for prayer, or are we also praying some extra? So now is the opportunity to accrue those good deeds, right? Once we die, we are not going to have that opportunity. The second thing to consider is debt, which we take it very lightly in today's context, right? Debt is considered to be a casual and easy thing today because there are so many bank loans and so on. So we have a tendency today to get money as a loan as if it's a free money. But debt is a serious thing. Jabir bin Abdullah, whose father, Abdullah, before going to the Battle of Uhud, Abdullah, by the way, he got killed in the Battle of Uhud. So before going to the Battle of Uhud, he called his son Jabir and he advised him to settle his debt. He gave him some details about his debt. I have debt with so and so and so and so, all the details, and he advised him to close the debt before going to Uhud. As he anticipated, he also got killed in the Battle of Uhud. So that is the importance of making sure that we close the debt before we die. In another hadith, Abdullah, narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said that the martyr, the shaheeds, sins will be forgiven. All the sins will be forgiven for a shaheed except debt. Who's the shaheed? A person who is giving up his life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that person, everything would be forgiven except the debt. So that the debt is very important. This hadith is in Muslim, hadith number 1886. So debt is very important to close before we get our debt, right? So it's very important. It's something that we may be overseeing today because there are so many banks that are after getting our interest payment. So they are offering all sorts of loans. So you might be tempted to get loans. It is okay to get loan as long as you are fitting within the Islamic boundaries, but make sure you close out that loan. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. We started on the topic of coronavirus, and I would be a remiss if I do not mention this hadith about epidemic diseases. This hadith is in, there are few hadiths. The one I'm mentioning here is documented in Sahih Bukhari as well as in Muslim, narrated by Abdul Rahman bin Auf. He said that I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you hear that plague is in a land, do not go there. And if you are in the land where there is a breakout, do not leave. This is a beautiful advice, right? Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you are going to a place where there is an epidemic breakout, there is a disease breakout, such as coronavirus, this particular hadith is about plague. However, you can apply it on anything that is epidemic or contagious, right? So if you are going to a region where it is known to have that outbreak, then avoid going there. But if you happen to live there, but do not leave because you are risking others. By leaving, by fleeing, you may be thinking that you are trying to escape, but as a matter of fact, you may be spreading the diseases to other people who do not have. So that is a beautiful advice. But my focus is not necessarily about how to tackle coronavirus, right? You have plenty of information online. We all know. You just have to make sure taking those precautionary measures of those common sense things that NDH or CDC is advising. But my focus here is taking this as an opportunity and evaluate ourselves whether or not we are ready to face the death. That's going to come. This coronavirus is an incident that make it appear more real. But it's always been real, right? Death could reach any one of us here any moment. But this coronavirus incident just make it more real, make it more visible for us, right? So let's take this as an opportunity and evaluate ourselves. Are we prepared to leave this dunya? Well, that's a couple things I want to summarize on, right? Are we prepared to leave this dunya? That preparation includes having a will put in place, having making sure that we pay attention to we are available to our kids, we are growing our kids in the Islamic values. So those are the preparations that we can do in this world to leave this dunya. And the second thing is, are we prepared to enter Akhirah? Like we saw a number of hadith. The situation of the people that are happy and the situation of the people that are sad on the day of judgment. Right? When we enter the day of judgment, there is no reversing. It is just one-way process. You cannot undo. Right? So this is the opportunity for us. This is the opportunity for us to make sure that we are fixing the problems that we may be having today. If you're hurting others, if you have any debt for others, make sure you close those things, close those loops. Right? Make sure you prepare yourselves in order to face the death anytime, because it could really happen anytime. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of our sins. May He save from the hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us die in the state of mu'minins. Wa akhiru lillahi rabbil alameen. Wa aqimus salat.